There you go.
Okay. Well, thank you all. I'm the bridge between high tech and ag tech. And having been at Hewlett-Packard for 50 years, you might wonder, how'd I get involved in this? And the answer is California has been an agricultural state forever. You know that, right? And HP's fourth product was a robotic sorter of lettuce seedlings so that we could, thin the crop and all that. Our fifth product was a tomato picker, but we made ketchup in the fields, and that wasn't all that good a deal. So we switched into doing computers and things like that. Worked out okay. So I'm here to basically tell you that after 50 years in the Valley, I moved down to the Central Valley. They call it the Big Valley, but it's where something like 2/3 of America's fruits and nuts, actually people in Washington say that's where all the fruits and nuts of California are, but 2/3 of America's crops in those areas come from there. 1/3 of our vegetables, 80% of the wine comes from California. 40% of the dairy products come from California. This is a food fest in this state, and it's pretty interesting. So I thought I'd just kind of, I have to do something here. Yeah, so there's the title. I was at HP, as I say, for quite a while and did quite a few things, not in ag, but when I became chief engineer of HP, I had 91 working divisions and 16 research labs. Never mind what David said earlier about big companies can't do R&D. But the point was we had more divisions in ag tech and healthcare than we did in computing. That's not very well known about Hewlett-Packard, but we were an instrumentation manufacturer for everything. And it turns out it was fabulously successful. Most of that got spun out in 1999 to a company called Agilent. I got spun out in '89 to go do some, startups around the valley, and it was kind of fun. But 7 years ago, I moved down to an area near Sequoia National Park. You know where that is? 210 miles from where we are right now to my home, and something like 20 miles to the big trees, and we'll talk about that. So when we talk about innovation and we talk about entrepreneurship, it's pretty interesting. We talk about it on a kind of a macro scale for, Silicon Valley, Bangalore, Taipei, you can name the places. And this is what we teach entrepreneuring about. Worth understanding, we didn't teach entrepreneuring in a single business school in America 20 years ago. So this is a relatively new phenomena that we have conferences like this, and we talk about entrepreneurship as a good idea. What we don't do yet is talk about entrepreneurship for ag tech or healthcare, really. And there's a couple reasons, I think. Healthcare, at least when we got in it at HP, the doctors wouldn't listen to engineers. I mean, that was unthinkable that a pedigreed doctor would listen to some engineer, about something that might save lives. Over 50 years, that got redressed. The ag community is its own culture, and I'm going to spend some time on that because I think that is a secret to how you might want to get involved in that space. Here's a picture of all of the spots where innovation is said to happen in America. If you ask about which of those are ag tech, it's none of those. Here's where the ag tech centers are. There are 3 of them in California. Most of them are in the Midwest. The problem with the Midwest from a research standpoint is their monoculture. They do wheat, they do soybeans, they do corn, but they don't do the 57 crops that California grows that have more than $100 million of sales a year, or any of the 10 that we have the billion-dollar plus markets. So where are those centers? Whoop, I've got to find the other button. That's why I got out of tech. I couldn't run the button. Okay, I live in Tulare County, 440,000 people, happens to be the #1 revenue producer of agriculture of any county, not only in America, but anywhere in the world. Little tiny county. We have the World Ag Expo. We have 250,000 people come to that. It turns out it's features all these kinds of things, big tractors. And we got the wrong slide set, I can see that. So that's pretty interesting. We're going to skip some of these. Oh, that's at least worth mentioning. 80% of Palo Alto residents have at least a bachelor's degree, 55% have an advanced degree. 0.4% have an advanced degree where I live. My wife and I raised the standard by 14% when we moved there. This is where it is. That's a big, you could almost imagine snow up there. We're 30 miles from Mount Whitney. We run a little horse ranch. And if you want to come find us, what you find is it's a little different. I counted the cars on the top 2 decks today. 14 Teslas and 1 pickup truck. Huh? We have 2 Teslas registered in our county. If you get them there, you can't leave because there's no charging stations. But what we do is, I should mention, we're 23 miles from a decent grocery store. And I'm a member of the Palo Alto Friendship Forum, and they were saying, well, God, Draegers? And I said, well, I can get there faster than you can drive across Palo Alto. So here's my next door neighbor, has 6 pickup trucks. He only has 4 in the driveway at the moment, but he has 1 for his plumbing equipment. He has 1 for his ag equipment. He has 1, so these are specialty Ford pickups. It's kind of interesting. Local pride, they deal either in old cars. This is kind of like Cuba. They really are proud of 1959 Oldsmobiles, or $500,000 tractors. Local events, that's a picture of some of our rodeo. 80% of the women, adult women, are packing. If you don't know what that means, I'll talk to you later. Yeah, but that was very inspiring for my PhD Berkeley girl that I live with. She said, what? And it turns out that's a good idea. So let's see, I got to figure out how to go forward. We attract the Budweiser Rodeo. This is called the prettiest rodeo in America. We have 3 teams of the Budweiser teams come every year, which says we're at least on that map. Local pride, you can't read those magazines, but there are at least 20 car magazines and motorcycle magazines on the grocery shelves, as well as National Enquirer and a few things like that. What I want to talk about is ag. So you start with orange trees on the left with bare ground. You put in a few trees, you shave them, and then you bring in people to pick. Okay, that's sort of the whole way. And then you get orange juice. But in the meantime, on the left, you have to protect them from frost. You have to spray them for bugs. You have to put netting over them to keep the bees from putting seeds in them. And you have to buy these equipments that shave everything. So they cut them down the sides, they cut them across the top so that they can be accessed. You have to buy water sprayers. You can go down to 23 degrees instead of 32 without freezing the fruit if you have a sprayer or windmills or that kind of technology. And then you have to prop the damn trees up because the fruit is so heavy, the tree falls over. Not an awkward situation. And then after 10 years, you rip them out and you make mulch, and we're going to have a talk a little later about soil amendments. So it's a full cycle, but I had no idea it's that fast. We could talk about dairies. We have, as I said, 1/3 the milk of Wisconsin comes out of our county. Nobody knows that. But what's fascinating, see that merry-go-round? The cow walks in 3 times a day, gets on the scale, its RFID tag is read. The rumination rate, in other words, how much it chews its cud, is measured. The weight, the milk amount, and then we take care of sexing. You can decide who you want to be the sire of all the calves for the dairy cow. A cow doesn't give milk unless they've been pregnant. So every cow has to get pregnant every year. Then you have to do something with the calf. It turns out a female calf is a lot better deal than a male calf. So the question is, how do you make sure you infect them that way? And we've got semen separating tools now. One company in America can sell this. The question is, how do you get the price down? So there's a lot of innovation here. And you can pick your favorite bull by the amount of fat, the amount of protein, the number of gallons of milk they give. I mean, it's fascinating. Crop dusting. We had a crop duster who, when 9/11 came along, the local Navy Air Base put all the crop dusters on the ground, actually in a fairly interesting way. They went into drone management. And today, the chief crop duster manages all of the Verizon satellite towers for the 7 western states. Pretty good. And he doesn't have to fly anymore. We're talking about how to have autonomous cars. We've had autonomous tractors for 15 years, thanks to Trimble Navigation here in the valley. Let's see, what did that do? Yeah, so it doesn't say, yeah, there it is. So Trimble Navigation has been building automated appliances, if you will, for the field for a very long time. Fresno State is the leading research university in the world for all of the appliance manufacturers because we don't have a monoculture. Probably didn't think of Fresno State as, up there with Berkeley or Stanford or one of those. I got there and some guy came to our meeting of one of our horse clients. And so all the wives came to learn about horses. And one of the guys said, I hear you're from Silicon Valley. I said, yeah. He said, well, I'm into high tech. I said, what do you do? He says, I do milk cracking. I said, well, what's that? He said, well, you take a petroleum cracking tower and you apply that to milk and you get some interesting products. Turned out somebody did this in France. You don't get any interesting products from wine, but you do from milk. Well, it turns out they don't drink milk in France. So the guy was willing to license the technology. He came to our ag fair, sold this off to somebody, and here we are. Turns out they ship 550 tons of one of the 9 extracts to Tokyo every year to make tofu. He says it's a lot easier to take 550 tons of dry product to LA than it is to drive wet milk. And it's 10 times as profitable. So what kind of innovation are we talking about? It can be any number of things. It could be, smart watches, or it can be milk cracking. And the question I guess I have for our meeting is, these are worth understanding, and F50 can help you connect to it. Thank you.